Hi, I want to do this video to show, one of the biggest reason why men and women are different isn't just a physical thing, it comes down to the brain. I put this in Google and this is what came up. The, the male brain is wired from front to back with few connections across the two hemispheres. Women, on the other hand, have more wiring from left to right. So the two hemispheres are more interconnected. That's one big difference. Like I said, between men and women. Here's another one. Psychology talks of, this is an article about men and women's brains. It talks how women, men and women's brains are completely different. Like here's a good example. This is the whole argument. Like J.K. Rowling says, "Oh, is a turf," and people got mad at her because she said men cannot be women, women cannot be men. Well, here's the proof. It's not just a physical thing; it's the brain itself. Men's brains are bigger than women. Yeah. And like I said, men's brains are wired from front to back. Like here, women, the sides. Yeah, men are better at performing single tasks. Women are better at multitasking. This is true. Women are better at attention, word memory, and social cognition and verbal abilities. Men are better at special processing and whatever this word is, I'm not going to pronounce it. Women are better at fine motor coordination and retrieving information from long-term memory. Women are more oriented towards and have better memories of faces, men, of things. Men are better at visualizing a 2 or 3-dimensional shape rotated in space, at correctly determining angles from the horizon, at tracking movement objects, and at aiming projectiles. In their findings, men rely more on dead reckoning. That is, they determine their position from the direction and distance traveled. Women tend to rely more on landmarks. Unfortunately, there are also gender-specific tendencies that are not so good. Women are more prone to experience depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. Men are more likely to suffer from schizophrenia, dyslexia, and autism, and to become alcoholic or drug dependent. These are proposed to result in their distinctive wired patterns. Yeah. We know that women and men react differently from an emotional perspective, and that researchers argue may also have to do with the brain issues. The female brain has greater blood flow in the, I'm not going to pronounce those. You can look this, you can see it right here. These right here. The brain, the part of the brain that involves processing emotions, resulting in more intense emotional reactions and stronger emotional memories. There are also sex-specific differences that seem to be innate, not learned, since behaviors are inherited by our brains. This suggests that some hard wiring going on. Female mice, for example, have a trait not found in males of protecting their nests from invaders. In monkeys, males prefer toys with wheels, while females prefer plush toys. Moving up the ladder, human toddlers show a preference for sex-specific toys before they know their gender, and show some of the particular differences found in adults that are mentioned above. Females' brain also has more wiring in the areas that play a role in social cognition and verbal communication. That may be why they're better at emphasizing with others, have a better sense of what is happening around them, and are richer in their verbal descriptions, because There's less connectivity in the male brain between their verbal centers and their emotional and memories. They're not as effective as communication, and that may be why they also tend to have less interest in conversations. Yeah. During activities, the male brain uses much more gray matter, while the female brain uses less white matter. This difference is believed to account for the greater ability of males to focus on a specific task to the exclusion of what's happening around them, while women are better at switching between tasks. This is also true. This sounds pretty convincing, right? Well, not to everyone. There are researchers who argue the other side. Even if the adult male and female brains are wired differently, it's a huge leap to say that these differences are programmed at birth. There are social, cultural factors at work. Brain connections change as a result of experience and learning. When the same signals are processed over and over, these neural networks get stronger just as muscles or skills developed. Yeah. So, this is basically going into the whole thing. Why, And these are the guys who wrote this article. Yeah. So, this is just one thing. There's this one. Yeah. This is Stanford Medical. This article right here, Two Minds. The cognitive difference between men and women. Yeah, it goes into, that they've been researching this for a long time and come up with some pretty interesting facts that make it really hard for, women to be men and men to be women. See, in behavioral it goes into all of this. It's something you might want to read that explains goes more into the whole, with the brain and everything. But there are way more differences between men and women in the brain. The brain's is your largest muscle, and it just there's a lot more to that makes why men and women why a woman can never be a guy and a guy can't be a woman. As much as they want to change their gender, that's not the only thing that makes women and men different. And it's like, it's the same like the other article. Some of the stuff in here is exactly what was in there. Yeah, I mean it's. This is really fascinating to read. It talks about why, So all of you that said, when J.K. Rowling defended women, said, the whole turf thing, well, you can go and look this stuff up about the differences between male and female brains, and and there's a lot here about that. How, here's the scientific America, the whole brain thing, how men brains are wired differently than women. This is, this isn't speculation. These are people that have worked on, doctors, brain experts, neurologists who have studied, and psychologists who have studied this, and I tend to go, wow, they know more than I do about this shit. Like I said, this article, this is another one to look up, that you just can't change, and you're now a woman. It's the brains are they're, men and women have very, very different, this right here, male and females showed the greatest differences in inner hemisphere brain connectivity during this time, with females having more connections between hemispheres, primarily in the frontal lobe. These differences got smaller with age, with older women, females showing more widely distributed connection throughout their brain rather than just in the front lobe. Yeah. So, yeah, this is another one to read that tells you, So for all those people that got on J.K. Rowling and said, oh, and for Warner Brothers who canceled her because she said she defended men are men and women are women, and you can't really change that. Yeah. Here's another one that goes massive study reveals difference between men and women's brains that go beyond fucking physical. See, it comes down, your brain is the ultimate, there's things that, why men can do things women can't do. Yeah, it's all here. I would read these articles if you really want to get into it. Like I showed you in this video, these differences are wired in your brain. And you wonder why women overall have more empathy than men do. I've showed you. This is stuff that's, we're talking about some of the smartest people are, these are psychologists, some are neurologists who deal with the brain. And it's like this. See, here's the, the references and everything. I mean, you can look this stuff up. But yeah, people need to, all the people involved in Harry Potter that want to sit there and be mad at J.K. Rowling. Fuck you, Emma Watson. You would never career if it was for Rowling. Same with you, Daniel Radcliffe. You cucked, you fucking soy boy bitch. She was a homeless woman living in a car when she wrote those books. You idiots were fucking kids no one ever heard about. Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, you look more like a fucking man every day, you ugly bitch. You want to shit on J.K. Rowling because she defends actual women. Not everything, I don't have to agree with everything Rowling says, but you want to know something? I'll defend her on this. She's right, and this is more proof of why women and men are different. Read these articles. They're not hard to look up. And like I said, I just punched in this. This is all I put in there. It said, are men's and women's brains wired differently? The answer is yes. So guess what? That ultimately says why women can never be men and why men can never be women. Your brain has already decided this shit. So, ta-da, have a great day.